It showed a little bit, but yeah, the show is
So,
okay. Let's turn that off.
me,
Okay. Ready here. I'm gonna start with the instrumental.
do you mean the wordless instrumental or the theme song? Take number one. Now, I do recall that I'm not able to hear.
In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. I said, in this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. You make this parade a mere charade if you're marching just for fun. Our troops must feel your thanks for real before the marching is done. They know side by side you can match their stride to the drum beat and the brass, but they're not impressed with you unless you can match their stride in class. This may not sound too diplomatic, but I cannot be more emphatic as I tell you, it's problematic when you do less than your best. Especially when it's because you put your brilliance on pause for the mere peer applause it draws from a so-called friend doing less. Quit playing, I'm saying, you know that you are great, and we know it, so show it. Don't make our heroes wait. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. For those of you who already do the things that make us proud, your nation in appreciation says thanks to you out loud. Your schoolmates should imitate the way you tap your potential. Let me try to convince them why their effort is essential. Our men and women in uniform, before, during, and after Desert Storm, always perform above the norm, anywhere and everywhere on the planet. They need to follow our heroes' lead, but they cannot lead if they cannot read. Allow me, please, to plant this seed. Don't take freedom for granted. I'm serious, I'm furious to see U.S. schools behind. Remove the clatter, it's just a matter of our making up our minds. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. We believe in you, warriors protect you to do what you must to rise. Please do your part. Please start before another warrior dies. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight.
Good afternoon and welcome once again to Wave Your Grades. My name is Carl Boyd. I am your civilian host of a program that honors veterans and also American students. As a matter of fact, we have a byline that says American students striving for excellence in honor of our troops. I'm going to share something about the technology with which I have been working for the last 2 weeks. And some of it might even be mildly amusing. But before I do that, I must offer something that is indeed very serious. Yesterday was Friday, September 16th, and saw the passing of Barb Friedman. Barb Friedman passed yesterday, and I refer to her as the organizer of organizations, and not just for a moment, but for decades. The position that I now enjoy at the homeless shelter where I work was a position that was precipitated by the intervention of Barb Friedman with the executive director of Synergy Services, Robin Winter. And I know that I speak for Robin Winter when I say Barb Friedman will be sorely missed, but certainly remembered. And we appreciate everything that she did and all of the things for which she will be remembered. Condolences to the family of Barb Friedman. I feel confident that that recognition offered sincerely is not something that she would want accompanied by sorrow. As a matter of fact, I'm certain that she would want to be remembered cheerfully if we could conjure up a cheerful spirit. So thanks to Barb Friedman for all you have done and for all that you still mean to the greater Kansas City community and beyond. Once again, the program is Wave Your Grades every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. on KUAW.org. Our program not only asks that American students strive for excellence in honor of our troops, but we also ask that they come on Wave Your Grades and talk about the accomplishments, that they have made academically, but not only academically. When we say Wave Your Grades, what we're saying is it is great when those who return home from their military deployment have young people, and for that matter, young people and older people, who greet them at bus stations, at train depots, at airports, waving flags. What we suggest is that young people should not just wave the flag for those who have served, but wave your grades, wave your leadership, wave your community service, wave your improvement. So Wave Your Grades has that connotation. Now, brother Louis George Walker, I think I mentioned to you, but in case I did not, I shall now, that I would talk a moment about my technological exploits over the most recent 2 weeks. Let me tell you, please, and you can help those who are listening and viewing to understand the sincerity in this delivery. My track phone was not ringing. And when my track phone was not ringing, I was obviously missing a lot of calls. Not only that, but in as much as the track phone wasn't ringing and I was missing calls, that meant that it didn't take long for the mailbox to be full. Now, I became 80 years old March 3rd, and I, not you, Brother Walker, because you are so technologically astute that you know better than to do this, but many people in our age group would look at young people and we would question their dependence on technology. You mean to tell me you can't go a day without a phone? You mean to tell me you have to have a phone in your pocket, or young ladies, a phone in your purse, or you even have to be tethered to a phone at school? What is wrong with these young people? You ought to be able to do without it. We did. Now, the practicality of the matter reared its ugly head when I was without my phone.
All right.
Let me tell you something. That phone is important. And not only because it did not ring, was I not getting those audible messages, but I was missing texts. I was told today at a meeting at the BFW Auxiliary Post 8100 when I was talking to one of the members of our youth committee. And I said something about what I was doing and my phone not working. And the young lady said, "Oh, that's why you didn't return my text."
Mm-hmm.
Louis George Walker, it has been more than 10 days. 10 days without that phone
Wow.
have included not only some missed calls, but some missed meetings. I mean, it is very unfortunate because sometimes you miss somebody, you call them back. But there are times when you just assume that they're busy and you don't call them back, and that's just a missed call.
That's the thing about the phone nowadays.
I mean, it was interesting because I called tech support, and of course, they took me through the routine. So
Yeah.
what's the first thing they say? Okay, turn off your phone and turn it back on. We're going to reboot. Okay, I did that. My phone was not ringing. Okay, go to settings. I go to settings. Now look in your settings and see where it says ringtone. I got ringtone. Press that and make sure that, okay. Now listen for our call. Okay. Now they come back and say, "Did you get that?" "No, I'm on my house phone. I did not hear my cell phone ring." "Oh, well, in that case, let us just give me 2 minutes." Now, I had 4 different tech supports
Wow.
in 4 days. I logged 4.5 hours of conversation.
Wow.
I started every conversation. I promise you, Brother Walker, I started the conversation by saying, "I am sure something very simple happened." I did not drop it in water. I did not drop the phone, but I'm sure I must have picked it up and inadvertently just hit something. Wrong dial, wrong something. They thought so too. It finally got to the point where someone took me through some changes for about 46 minutes. This was the 4th try with tech support, the 4th person. So they finally said, "We will need to replace your phone."
Wow.
But being without it for more than 10 days has been a true handicap.
So have you got your phone back?
Not yet.
Ooh.
As a
Okay.
matter of fact, I called them yesterday. Yesterday was the 9th day. So theoretically, in as much as they said it will be as many as 10 days, it wasn't quite the 10th day yesterday. I just thought that 9 days was a long time. And I gave them the tracking number and I gave them the code and all of that. The first person to whom I spoke, Louis George Walker, said to me, "Our records show that it has been delivered."
Oh.
That was not good news. So when I went back, tracked it over again, they said something like it should be there within the next 2 or 3 business days.
Hmm.
So if there's anybody who takes your technology for granted, take it from me as it relates to my personal experience. But Brother Louis George Walker, can you add anything or can you caution those who are looking and listening to us about being careful with the technology that they must use?
Well, let me join you here. I gotta show myself there. I wanted to show myself so people don't just hear a voice coming out of nowhere the whole time.
All right.
Oh, but yeah, that is a problem. Tech support has always been interesting for everyone to go through, and it can take you a long time to kind of get certain things that can be easy, and sometimes it can be a delay. I've had a problem one time where I called them up, and within a couple of minutes, we were good. Just something real simple. And then there's sometimes when, as you say, you go through it, and then the other bad thing about this, before I get that far into it, is waiting to get to a person on tech support. Is that you can be on hold, you can dial in, you got 15, 30 minutes, 45 minutes or
That's
longer.
right.
Before you even get to talk to somebody, then the whole thing of all what you got to go through starts. So yeah, you have to definitely be careful. And what I've had the most problems with this radio station even now is updates.
Wow.
The updates that they send out, that companies do, okay, they can interfere with other programs. Right now, to run this show that we're seeing, I've got Zoom up, I've got OBS up, I've got a program called Caster up, and I've got Windows going. Well, when Windows did an upgrade one time, then it somehow upset the settings in my OBS. So I had a problem, but then I had no idea why all of a sudden I'm not hearing people or the voice isn't going through. And I'm going through everything, and then finally went into OBS and saw some of the settings weren't the same as they were before this upgrade. And once I changed it, it all started working. It's not like they told you, though, when you do this update, you better go back and look and see if OBS or Zoom still works the same. They just say do it. And you do it, and then it's like, oh, man, I've opened up a can of worms. And then now after I went through that, OBS sends me out an update. So I update the OBS system. And the OBS it changed some things in its settings from what it was. And I had to go through, okay, how do we get things working again? How do we get the voice out? How do we get this going? So, yeah, every update or upgrade can cause you problems. And one good thing about Windows that can help you analyze it is you can roll back an update. So if you do an update, or if your computer, because a lot of times you don't notice this problem when it first happens, because if you don't use that program, if you don't try to do Word, or if you don't try to open something up, you don't know. Everything else is working good. But if after you find a problem, think back of when the last time you used it and have you did an update since then. But you can roll back the last update. Windows will let you roll that back and put it back like it was. And if that fixes your problem, then you know it's something in that update. That doesn't make it a lot easier, but it keeps you from tearing up other stuff as you're trying to figure out what's going on. Or you can go online then to a forum and say, hey, anybody else had a problem with this program working with the new update? And a lot of times that, you'll get the information you need, or you'll see something on that forum say, yeah, it's this, or you do that. And you can kind of straighten it out, because you can bet and believe you're not the only one that had that problem after you did the update. Yeah, after you do the update, a lot of things can come into play. So we have to always remember, as you're doing updates, go back and check, especially your most used programs, and make sure they still work after you tell Windows, okay, I want to do the update. Because don't assume that everything is going to work right when you get done.
I see our guest has come in.
Yes, I just did that.
As we get ready to welcome her, let me tell you something from a very practical standpoint that happened today, just before this program. And this is interesting about technology. I made the mistake of, in as much as our guest today is on Eastern time, we're on Central time. And we're talking about 12:45 Central time to hook up versus 1:45 Eastern time. And somehow I communicated 2:45 your time. Well, it should have been 1:45 her time. But here's what's interesting, Brother Walker and Sister Lillian Batey. Without the phone, I was calling to let her know that we were on the Zoom link. So I pick up my home phone since I don't have a cell phone. Now, Brother Walker, what do you do when you have a cell phone and you're looking for somebody's phone number? You can hit one digit
Yeah,
and
it
the
starts
person comes up.
right.
So now I'm using my home phone. So now I have to go to my records to look up the phone number. Something as simple as that
Yes, yes.
with the technology. But now we have gone on and on. Sister Lillian Batey, thank you for being with us this afternoon.
And I thank you very much once again, Mr. Callboy, for inviting me and trying to cover for me. But I have to say, as a teacher, I guess you can't make up an excuse because I didn't read the email.
Oh, no, no, no. Believe me, I'm the one who has been having technical difficulty. And I was saying to Brother Walker, who is with us, Brother Louis George Walker, whom you know, that
Yes.
I have been having technical difficulties since I lost my cell phone, not lost, but had to have my cell phone replaced more than 10 days ago. So that's not on you. I was just lamenting what was going on. But in as much as you have some serious stuff going on, just bring our listener viewers up to date on Sister Lillian Batey.
Well, first, giving honor to God, I'm just truly abundantly blessed and highly favored that He has given me favor enough to be able to live to see another day.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I am grateful for that. Every day I wake up and I'm able to breathe on my own and
Yes,
have the
ma'am.
activity of my limbs, whether I'm walking fast or slow. I am just grateful. And the sun is shining here in Georgia today, so that makes it even more appreciative.
And I'm looking at what looks like seat belts. It looks like you are in transport.
No, I'm sitting still because I was determined that I was not going to miss out on this entire program.
Well, I appreciate that so very, very much. Give us a little bit of a Stosh update, and then I have a couple of other questions I want to ask you about things going on.
Okay, well, I believe since the last time we talked, um, I have moved into an office space that is currently owned by State Farm Insurance, and that is now where the Stosh Edutainment Campus is housed. It's at 4250 Stone Mountain Highway in Suite 102.
Okay.
In addition to that, last year I was fortunate enough to sign up for a program called Varsity Tutors and have between 30 to 50 students that were assigned to me. Now, since they are back in school, I am not getting the online children. I am trying desperately to reach the local children because in that time period, God revealed to me how desperately important it is, and our children are struggling even harder than ever before, to the point where I thank God for some of the parents who knew what to do, that were able to keep their children in line and at or above grade level. But there's times when I want to cry because I have children now that have been promoted to the second and third grade who can't remember the alphabets and can't tell me what letter comes next or doesn't know the beginning sound or can't sound out words or spell three-letter words or remember sight words, so they can't do spelling words.
You know, there are those of us who have been in education for a while,
Yes.
and we observe the progress or lack thereof of young people whom we teach. For your being an experienced educator, and I'm talking about how far just you and I go back,
Yes, sir.
to what degree is it a fact that the pandemic has had a devastating effect on the progress of our children?
It is being so detrimental, in my opinion, to the point where I am now once again praying and asking God for new direction. Um, just this past week, I contacted one school and offered to adopt that school and to try to work with at least 25 of the students who signed up for my free literacy program, which I was fortunate enough to attend their back to school event on August the 1st. But the parents don't know what to do. My daughter
Wow.
has created this a link that calls you 1 hour before time for the show. It tells you when to log on. But if parents don't have any instructions, they don't know what it's for. So they're calling me and saying I called them. And
Ah,
the
yes.
phone have to explain it to them. So a lot of those children are still missing out on knowing what to do to log in on Friday afternoons. Fortunately, God laid on my heart to call and ask if there was a possibility of me being able to do a presentation at the PTA meeting, not knowing that the PTA meeting was scheduled the same day that I called. So it was too late on that agenda. However, they did pass the information on to the PTA president as well as to the parent liaison. The president did contact me back and say that he's already spoken with his board for the PTA and they would like for me to do a Zoom meeting with them this coming Wednesday. So I'm feeling like I'm moving forward a little bit at a time, but God is still opening doors. In addition to that, the parent liaison, after I shared with her that I also am a certified teacher who has been operating a tutorial assistance program for 30 years as of this year. And she said, well, you know that we definitely need the tutoring. So my prayer is that God will open up those doors because there's money out here to be able to cover the cost for parents who cannot afford it. It's just getting into that door or finding the sponsors who have the heart and the desire to sponsor a child. And we've already found one that is paid for one child to receive 1 hour tutoring from now to the rest of the year. So I'm of the opinion if one can do it, there's some more out there as well who will.
All right. Now, I have a couple of questions for you, but before I do that, just in case there's
Yes.
someone who wants to get in touch, how do they do that?
They can contact me directly at 770-572-8995. They can email me at takeoverlearning. That's TAKEOVERLEARNING at gmail.com, because that's exactly what I plan to do. They can also go to my website at www.stosh, which is the abbreviation for the Sojourner Truth Observational Study Home Hotel Incorporated. That's STOSH Inc.org to register a child. And they can also make donations right through the website. If there's any other way, call me. And we also have a 24 passenger bus, have wheels, will travel.
Outstanding. That is outstanding. Now, let me tell you what you make me think of.
Yes.
And this is very important to stakeholders who have children who need to
Yeah.
be educated. When I look at, oh, you know what I wanted to ask you now that I was just getting ready to preface my question by saying, when I look at Lillian Batey's history, when I look at Lillian Batey's history, I'm looking for Lillian Batey's book. Are you writing? Are you going to publish? Are you doing something to chronicle your years? And then I'll go to the question I was getting ready to ask.
I'm working on a call, but it's still up in my head. And I do have to say, God forgive me, because my spiritual mother, Mother Faye McDonald, told me when I moved back home to Kansas City in 1992 that I needed to start writing my book. And I didn't follow through as she had asked me to do. And there's a wealth of knowledge that has gone even past since that time. So I have the title of it in my mind, and I think I started writing a few chapters, and then I got
Good.
sidetracked.
Good. God will pull you through, and keep in mind that what you write is not for Lillian Bate, but there
Exactly.
are so many of us who need it and can benefit from it.
Okay.
So I will be like your godmother and continue to suggest that it is sorely needed. And now let me put it in context. That this is the question I was getting ready to ask.
Yes.
When I look at your history, particularly, of course, going back to the holidays and the giveaways, and the young people who felt so good when they saw that someone really cared. When we look at the evolution of education through all that has gone on, again, including the pandemic, I suggest, please help me with this, that what you are doing is not only extremely important academically, but how are reports to you being offered that talk about the mental health of young people today? Remember, those many years ago, you were actually giving to people who were less than. But there are people today whose plight is even worse when you add the mental health of students who have tried to negotiate hybrid learning, personal learning, and technological learning.
All together.
How do you reconcile all of that, Lillian Bate?
Carl, you know, you have been kind of like the godfather in my life ever
Well,
since the
you're too kind.
organization. And it's like you are reading my mind because
Mm,
I just finished having lunch with a lady that I would like for you to meet, who started a program called Step Academics and allowed me to come on board as a tutor in the classroom um, long before the pandemic. And I just said with her to her sitting at the table, I recall working for the Ad Hoc Group Against Crime between 1995 and 1997 when they finally realized the effects that violent crimes were having on children as young as 5 years of age. So
wow.
they started a program called Psychological First Aid. And I said to her, we need to continue that or reproduce that, entitled Psychological Mental Health, because the mental health of our children right now is so out of control. I believe that's the reason why we have even adults who are riding down the highway who get upset and decide to just shoot somebody and they're driving a car. You know, I've never seen or heard things that what I'm seeing right now um, everywhere, and especially with the children. You know, and I read an article some time ago through the American Academy of Pediatrics talking about the importance of play. So for 2 years
Wow.
during the pandemic, the children didn't get a chance to play or socialize, and some of them even became afraid to go, well, couldn't go outside because of the pandemic. So the thing that is so funny to me right now, which is the question that I've always asked any children when I first meet them, how was school today? And they say good, and they know they can't just tell me good. Tell me what was good about it. And the
Thank you.
first place their little minds go to is, we went outside, we went to the gym. Nothing about subjects basic. What, and then I have to go back and say, okay, what did you learn? Did the teacher teach anything today?
Ooh.
Did you learn anything today? And it's sad because some of these children cannot even remember at the end of the day what they learned. So I have to make them write a little summary. Okay, from the time you got to school, you put your book bag down. What did you do next? I have to make them do a chronological order to help them to remember. Oh, we did do math, or my teacher read a story. What was the title of the story? I don't remember. Okay. Do you remember any of the characters in the story? their little minds can't remember things anymore. And it's
Right.
sad and it's scary. So this
And
is what I'm trying to do, is to through the program, and again, I know it's no accident that God allowed me to begin a free literacy program before the pandemic entitled The Right to Read from A to Z, because children, they can't read if they don't know their alphabets. And when they took writing out of the curriculum, and I started getting children assigned to me online, and the parents were paying for me to teach their kids how to write. At first, I thought, this doesn't make sense. These people are paying me, and all they want me to do is write and teach writing for their kids. But when I saw the the condition and the way children were writing and spelling words, it made sense to me. So now every child that I have, before we begin, I have to see if they even know how to write their name on a paper with uppercase and lowercase letters.
how do you find parental involvement in the programs with which you are involved?
Um, it depends. Some are and some are not. But the problem that they have with me is when they get involved with me, they have no choice.
Thank you.
Even with children that I've had online in other states, when they get out of order, and I'm trying to get them to cooperate, I send a text to the parent saying, I'm having a hard time getting your child's attention. Do you mind stepping in the room? And the
All
parent
right.
up on camera, so the child doesn't know they're coming. And I've even had parents say, "Can I have a minute?" I was like, "Yep, I'll turn off my camera and my mic and give you that minute, because you're paying me to help your child, and I can't do it if your child is trying to negotiate with me, and I'm getting a lot of back talk." So it has worked, but I have to give credit to some of the parents that have done an outstanding job. I had a little kindergartner from New York. That little girl could read everything that I put before her. And her parents got a kick out of me just using whatever she did for the weekend. If she went to her grandma's house, we wrote a story about going to grandma's house.
Hey.
You do, okay? And she would draw me a picture at the end, and they were sending me thank you messages. And those parents actually sent me a gift card for Christmas, a virtual gift card for Christmas. That
Wow.
made me feel like I had done something right to make a difference in the life of their child, who was already on the ball, and they wanted to keep her ahead of time. Now there's other parents right now that need the parental involvement that still don't know what to do. And we still have children out here who do not have access to computers. So how did you keep up in class? I'm finding that they didn't.
Now, when I think about having begun in 1964, 7th and 8th grade science, south side of Chicago,
Yes.
back in the 1960s, we used to talk about methodological approaches wherein some teachers thought that silence meant comprehension. Now, what I mean by that is you make a statement and then you look at the class and say, okay, so does everybody get that? Nobody says anything.
Right.
And then you go on. No, 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 no. Wait a minute. Did you get that? Is not quite enough.
Exactly.
So if I ask the question, did you get that? Nobody says anything. Then I say, if you got it, raise your hand. Now there are some students who raise their hands. Now I say, for those of you whose hands are up, who will come up and explain?
Okay.
Let's talk about it. Now, invariably, a couple of hands would go down. They don't want to come up and explain it. This gives me the opportunity to explain. Unless you can tell what you comprehend and tell it like you comprehended it, you are compelling me to reteach.
Yes.
And when Ruth Love had the Chicago reading program, one of the things that she talked about was teach, test, reteach, retest. Now, what that meant was if you teach and you test and everybody passes, then you move ahead. But there are some students who didn't pass. So now you need to reteach and you need to retest.
Right.
But you don't move, I'm sorry. This is your interview and let me just tell one more story before I.
But telling the truth.
But let me, I was working with schools, and I was blessed to work with schools in all but 3 of the United States, Rhode Island, Delaware, and Hawaii. I've never been to those, but I happened to be in my home city of Chicago.
Yes.
And as I was visiting in that class, a teacher was talking to students about parts of speech. Now, let me tell you the year this was. This was in the 1980s in the city of Chicago.
Okay.
These were students who had been sent to her because they were not highly motivated. As a matter of fact, they didn't want to talk much at all. And I asked the teacher, may I ask them a question?
Okay.
And she said, please, Mr. Boyd, come on up. She introduced me. I'm a guest and all of that. I said, who's the best basketball player in the world? Well, of course, in the 1980s, they're going to say Michael Jordan because I was in the city of Chicago.
Right.
And then I said, how do you think he got to be the best player in the world? Man, he can just play ball. And finally, we would get to, he had to practice. And I said, practice what? And just drawing it out of him, finally, he had to practice dribbling the ball, shooting the ball, free throws, passes, all of that kind of stuff. And I said, do you understand that the parts of speech are your free throws, are your passes?
Right. Yeah.
Who do you know who raps now? Here again, the 1980s, Sugar Hill Gang, Grandmaster Flash, Curtis Blow, Melly Mel, these were the rappers then. And I told them even the rappers have to be able to use the English language.
Exactly.
When the young people, Doc Bass, you know Doc Bass.
Yes, I do. Very.
Always borrow from him his phrase, the relevance of intelligence.
Okay.
If young people can feel that it has something to do with them or their lifestyle, they're more prone to learn. How does Lillian Batey help them to make it relevant for their lives in 2022?
Well, because we are now dealing with more of a technology age, and I guess in part, I'm still sort of old school, as you have said.
Yes.
I have to try to make it seem like a game to these children.
Come on.
And get them to understand. Like, God has blessed me with all kinds of tools and equipment, and a lot of them were like toys that I was also giving away during their Christmas party. But when I saw the educational ones, I said, oh, the kids are not going to play with this for long because it won't be fun. I would keep those or hold them back to be able to use as incentives to get the children to be able to learn. Like an example right now, I didn't know Legos came up with all of these little characters that go along. It's no longer just a brick. They got one shaped like a pizza. They got Dorothy and the dog, and all of these things. So I set it up like a chess game. And we play chess using Lego pieces.
Wow.
And they be able to count and tell me how many pieces they have or things of that nature. So I've had to really pray and ask God to show me how to reach each and every child through things that they think are just a game, to make learning fun so that they will want to continue to learn. Now, you something, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please go ahead.
You mentioned something earlier about getting them to learn. Like, I use an educational program because, as you probably know, a lot of kids are coming home now and they don't even have homework. They're not even given spelling words. So how do you expect a child to read when they're not getting anything to learn? So I had to create ways or come up with ways or Google things. And I came across a program that I use now that for every child that signs up for the tutoring piece also gets access to this program for the rest of the school year, which means they can use it regardless of whether they're online with me or not. And I encourage the parents to help them. But what it does is it's in line with the Common Core standards and the state standards for each state. And it helps me to be able to, I have them log on their end and share their screen. I have to teach some of them how to do it and some already know. That way I can see and read along with them. I can tell if they're comprehending, if they're understanding, if they know how to spell certain words. And if they can't pronounce it or tell me what it means, I make them stop and they have to Google it on their end. They have to write down the definition. They have to be able to use it in a sentence or in some form to help me make sure that I know that they understand it, or we can't move forward, like you said.
Well, now let me just do this because this is obviously the quickest program I have ever done. We're coming to the end of the hour, which is totally unfair. I'm going to ask one question to accompany repeating contact information. So put it in this context, if you will. To what degree are you being asked and are you available to create some more Lillian Battays? Are you doing workshops? Are you doing seminars? Are you doing lectures, as well as what you're doing with the young people? And please preface that with the repetition of contact information. Now we're talking about technology, and unless something has happened to freeze you, it looks like the freezing is in the technology. So Lillian Battay, 770-572-8995. Lillian Battay, 770-572-8995. takeoverlearning@gmail.com. This has been such a delight. And in as much as the program was a half an hour long rather than a full hour, that means that we can ask Lillian Battay to come back and finish this conversation and talk about what's going on. And that's in Atlanta, Georgia, but the programs can be replicated. And from time to time, Lillian Battay does return to her home area of Greater Kansas City. And we certainly look forward to the extension of the conversation. Brother Walker, are you back with us? And, oh, okay, all right. Can you imagine that we started with technology and ended up with a frozen figure? So if there's anybody who is with us who does not appreciate the importance of efficient technology, please know that it's not always the fault of the presenter, but we do have to sharpen up on technology on an ongoing basis. I'm blessed that Louis George Walker, of all people, the founder of KUAW.org, the president of the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, has been kind enough over these Saturdays to produce and engineer the program. That's crazy good. I so appreciate it. And Brother Walker, I think it's time to sign off. Now you're talking. Students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day. If you think you're too young to inspire our troops, Sharon A. with a hero today. My name is Carl Boyd. Wave your grades. Louis George Walker, Lillian Batey. Gracious God and wonderful Wanda. I'm on my way home.